In this video, we will discuss more ways to create micro variables. The first one is called symputx function. So this function can be used in data step. It sets the value of a micro variable as a value in the dataset. This is how this function is used. It has two arguments. The first argument within the quotation mark, so will be the name of a variable, name of a micro variable, and so the second argument is the value. In fact, so there are multiple ways to specify the first argument. So it can be a character string, or can be name of a variable, and can be anything else. So we will show that in a while. If you read some SAS code, so you may notice additional to call symputx function, so there is another one called call symput. So without that x in the end. The function we are talking about right now, so the one with x, is a newer version of call symput. So this has more features. So usually, so we will use a call symputx function directly. So let's first try to create a dataset. We will use this one to demonstrate this function. Here I just create a dataset. So name of the dataset is courses. Also here I have data lines, but I still have use a infile statement. So the reason is I want to specify some options. Because usually for data lines, the values are separated by space, but in the following, I separate the values by comma. So then I say delimiter equals comma, and also DSD, right? So DSD just means when SAS read the data, so we'll ignore these quotation marks. Okay. When in the input statement, so you notice, so there is this column. So do you still remember the purpose of the column? So column $10, right? So just means SAS will read data up to 10 characters, or SAS read a delimiter. So here, see, for here clearly, so this length is shorter than 10 characters, right? But after SAS read this delimiter, this comma, so then SAS will stop. So basically SAS will read this piece of information to course. Okay, so this is the purpose of this column. Let's load the data. Okay, so run this one. So the data are loaded correctly. So notice in the value for the title, the quotation marks are excluded. Here we just demonstrate 3 ways of using function call symputx. So in the first one, look at here, data underscore non underscore. So because the purpose of this data step is we just want to create some macro variables. We do not want to write the information to some to some output data. So after data, so then I say non underscore, just tells us I do not want to create any new data. So then set courses. So I just read the data from this course, the dataset we just created. So then we have a if then statement, right? So if course equals to this number, then so asks us to use this function called symputx to create a macro variable, and so name of the macro variable is this course. So then the value of the title will be used as a value to be assigned to this macro variable. So let's check this. For stat 61110, right? Just this one, so the corresponding title will be the SAS programming and applications. If you run this piece of code, so SAS create a macro variable, this course, and the value will be SAS programming and application. Let's check this one here, right? Yeah, so then I just create this data set. So then I use a put statement. Yeah, so I just, this course is ampersand this course. So I just ask SAS to display the value of this course in log window. Yeah, so then we will check so whether SAS process the code as what we expected or not. You can see SAS run it. See, for the put, this course is, see, these characters, right? Yeah, so this is just the value of this course. Let's check the second one. For this one, the first argument, this is not character string anymore. Yeah, but the result of this expression will give us a character string, right? See, we just use course, so this character string just concatenate n underscore. So this is just indicate the which row we are reading, right? Yeah, underscore n underscore. So this so the value will just be 1, 2, 3. Because we have set course, right? So for this courses data set, we have 3 rows. And for each row, SAS will call run this call symputx function. So essentially, so SAS will create 3 macro variables, and so the name will be course1, course2, and course3. Yeah, because this n, right, so will be replaced by 1, 2, 3, and so that digit so will be combined with the course and to create a macro variable. And so the value of those macro variable will be the corresponding value of titles. And so for this title, you can see because we have 3 titles, right? So then they will be the value for course 1, course 2, and course 3. Let's check this. Yeah, like this one. Okay. So then we use put, right? Just want to show the contents, show the value of course 1, course 2, and course 3. So if you run this one, you can see, so course 1 is SAS programming, course 2 is regression analysis, and course 3 is categorical data analysis. Yeah, so the result is what we expected. For the last one, the first argument is the name of the variable. So notice a course for this variable is is a character variable, right? And so for this guy, yeah, so then this guy just will be the value of course, and so it will be the name of the macro variable we will create. And so the corresponding value just will be the value of that title, right? Yeah, so let's run that. Yeah, you can see, so the macro variable we created, yeah, so those are just the name of the macro variable we created. Yeah, so then SAS here just display the value of the corresponding macro variable. So here we just, as a summary, call symputx. So this is a very useful function, and it is used in data step to create macro variables. Next one, so we will discuss how to create macro variables using proc. So the syntax is like that. We just use the into clause, into and followed by a column, right? So then we select column, just select some variable, so from dataset, right? Yeah, so the value of this column will be used as a value, will be used as the value to be assigned to this macro variable. Yeah, so let's look at this one. Maybe we load the data first. So the data is a data we used multiple times. So this is grades. Yeah, so it just lists the name, gender, department, and scores for some students. So the first question, what we want to do is, we just want to get the number of observations in this dataset, and then we set that value to a macro variable. See, proc select count in the parentheses, you say star from grades. Yeah, so if you only run this part, I mean, so without that into clause. See, if you directly run this one, so this is what we know before, right? Yeah, so if you run it, so count, so just count the number of observations. Yeah, so if you run this one, so SAS just return so 22. So that's the number of observations in that data set. And so then if you add into, right? So then this 10, so also not 10, I mean this 22. So this value so will be assigned as value to this size. See, if you run this one again, so we use put to show the value of this macro variable. Yeah, so we run this one. You check the log window, you can see sample size is 22. You may notice, so there are many extra space, right, before 22. This is because, so for those numbers, right, values, and so of course, so SAS by default will convert that to characters and then assign those to the macro variable. And so SAS by default so will keep maybe there's some leading blanks and trailing blanks. Sometimes, usually, we may want to remove those blanks, and so then we can use a trimmed option. So why we want to remove those blanks? For example, let me show you this example. Usually, so when we want to create a macro variable, and so we want to remove those trailing or leading blanks. The reason is, so for example, so if you create two macro variables, so suppose a year, right? So suppose you want the year will be 2013, right? And so then you want months maybe to May, okay? Yeah, so then when you say and months and year, right? So then you maybe so you expect May 2013, right? Because see, those macro variable just will be replaced by the corresponding value, so you will get this one. And so then by this way, so you can get maybe a string, right? So this string can be used as name of the variable or can be used anywhere. However, so if you have some blanks, leading blanks or maybe trailing blanks, so when you combine these together, so then instead of string like that, right? So then you may then you will have some blanks in between those, right? And for this part, so when you insert this part into your SAS code, and then SAS will not interpret it as a one name, right? Yeah, because so there is blank here, okay? Yeah, so this is why usually when we want to create a macro variable, so we do not want that trailing or leading blanks. Yeah, see, when storing a value into a single macro variable, proc preserve leading or trailing blanks. So remove leading or trailing blanks, so using trimmed option. So just after the name of the macro variable, so you just say trimmed. Yeah, so then this is how we write it, right? Yeah, so see, compare this code with this piece of code. Yeah, so just after size, see after size, so then we say trimmed. So then we use put to show the value. So let's run these two pieces of code together. Check the log window. You can see for this one, sample size is 22, right? So there are multiple space between 22. Yeah, but here sample size is 22, so there's no extra space. Yeah, cause of course we have one space here. Yeah, but this space is just because in the put, right? Here, so we have one space. Yeah, so all the trailing or leading blanks are removed. Yeah, so this is the purpose of trimmed option. So more examples. Here, for numerical values, and so when you save push those values to a macro variable, so you can specify format to specify how the value are saved. Okay, and so then you can also save multiple create multiple variable together. Yeah, so like this piece of code demonstrated. See here, we select two values, right? See the sum and also mean. So notice separated by comma. So we have two values, right? So then into, yeah, so then we will have two macro variables. So notice, so we need a column before the name of each of the variable. Trimmed, I think we mentioned trimmed already because we want to remove the leading or training blanks. So if you want to create two macro variables, and so they also need to be separated by comma. So one extra thing is here, so we have a format, right? So to specify how the value should be saved to that macro variable. Yeah, so let's try to see this output. Yeah, so I explained the code already. So then I use put to show the value of the extra, to show that macro variable. This is mean, this is sum, this is mean, right? Yeah, you can see, so the log window, okay, why there's no log window? What happened? Let me run this again. Oh, here, okay. Yeah, you can see, yeah. So then SAS create two macro variables, right? So one is exam1 sum, so will be this guy. So then the other, so this one is the means. See, if you do not show, if you do not specify the format, yeah, so suppose I drop that, then I run it, you can see, so what will be, see, it keep many decimal places, and so if you check the log window, so it will contain multiple decimal places, right? Yeah, so use the format, so you can just specify the which format you want, right? Yeah, so in this way, so we just keep one decimal places in the log window, you can see, yeah, so then keep one decimal places. The next one, create a series of macro variables. What are the series of macro variables? Yeah, just create multiple variables together. You can see this is how we do it. Because if you check the variable department, so let me show you the department, right? Oh, not this one. If we show the data set, okay, yeah, so for the department, you can see, so we have math, we have psychology, forestry, and fishery. I think so we have 4 departments in total, right? So what we want to do is, so we want to create a macro variable, and for, the value will be each of the name of the department. Okay, yeah, but we don't know so how many departments in total yet, right? And so we know, so use a proc, if you use a SQL, right? Let me drop this one first. So then you can say select distinct department. So this just give you a list of unique value of department from this dataset. We have 4 of them, right? Yeah, so what we want to do is, so we want to save, create 4 macro variables, so corresponding to these 4 departments. Yeah, because we don't know, so how many unique department in advance, right? Yeah, so then what we can do is, see, we will say into column department 1 heaven, Yeah, so by this way, then SAS just will know. So create a macro variable, just follow this pattern. I mean, so the first one will be department 1, so the next one will be department 2, and then department 3, and following that pattern. Okay, so and additionally, so SAS will create a macro variable, and so name is SQL OBS, right? So this macro variable is used to store the number of rows that were read. Yeah, so basically in this context, this will just be the number of distinct department we will have. So let's check that. Again, right, so see for this one, into department 1 minus. Okay, so SAS will create a series of macro variables. So start with department 1, then department 2, then department 3, and then go on. So this SQL OBS, right, so just tells you the number of macro variables so SAS created in this step. Yeah, so then we run like that. Yeah, so we expect 4 macro variables. Yeah, so if you look at the SAS output, see SQL OBS, right? So see the value is 4. So then if you check the value of department 1, 2, 3, 4, so will be fish, forestry, math, and psychology respectively. Yeah, so then corresponding to these 4 values. The last one is concatenating values in macro variable. Okay, what's that? See, in this way, because we read 4 department, right? And so then in this step, in this code we just discussed, so SAS will create 4 macro variable. Instead of 4 macro variable, so maybe I just want 1 macro variable, and so this macro variable will contain the name of all those 4 departments. Yeah, so this is what we want to do. And so then how to do that? So then see into column, right? So then you just specify name of the department. So then you just say separated by. Yeah, so this is a SAS keyword. So after that, in this quotation mark, you just list a symbol. Then SAS will create all those result into 1 macro variable. Yeah, and so the value of the value of those departments will be separated by comma, right? Yeah, so you can see if you run that one, 4 variable, right? Yeah, 4 department. So this is generated by the select statement, select distinct department into a depth list. So basically we create a macro variable, right? So called a depth list. Okay, and see the value will be fish, comma, forestry, comma, math, comma, and psychology, right? So those 4 values are just kind of concatenated into 1 character string, and so those departments are separated by comma. Of course, so if you want, you can change that to space, so that's also okay. So if you run it, for example, yeah, so see, you will get those 4 departments separated by space. Yeah, so let's look at here. See, when creating 1 macro variable that holds all values of a certain dataset variable, so you use the separated by keyword to specify a character to delimit the values into a macro variable. Yeah, so this is what we just demonstrated.